What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the AMS Podcast. I am your host, Adrian Michael Soto, discussing things about films, past, present, and future. And today's episode is something that I enjoy watching this type of genre in film, in the sense of it being action, action adventure type esque films where whether it being the female male character going on an adventure, completing a mission, or whether that character seeking revenge on a particular thing, i.e., John Wick, very good action franchise film and action character. Excuse me. And for the most part, it ends up being in the sense of just so many moments in film history, as I'm about to show you right now. I'm going to add here that it ends up being action movie characters. I'm going to minimize it, go back to so you can see the picture a little bit. Action movie characters. We have Indiana Jones, Ripley. I believe that's from Commando. Then you have Lethal Weapon, Riggs, John McClane, and Rambo. And each of those characters alone has had their form of adventure and action, to say the least. Whether that's saving the world from aliens, going on an adventure and being afraid of snakes, being a almost over the edge cop, or being a cop from New York and having to save people from one building on Christmas of all things, or an assassin like Rambo. And I don't know, it's just one of those that I've gone to appreciate and just like all these movies. Really, above all, if anything, I would say it's action, sci-fi, then fantasy, then you have the family, comedy, and then don't at me, but the horror type films. And as we proceed here, the time of this episode's release, we're going to see Indiana Jones, from what I've been told, is the last time Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is currently out in theaters. And it stars Harrison Ford's fifth, and it appears final time as the man with the whip bag and fedora hat. And overall, Indiana Jones as a character, I'm going to have to do a reaction on the deep dive, which I did a reaction on Eric Voss, who, if you all haven't seen my reaction to it, do trailers tell the truth, or do you watch trailers? He goes into a deep dive of each of the Indiana Jones films. But overall, this character, I would say, has been synonymous to Hollywood per se. And I might get this wrong, but I believe when the time of the making of Indiana Jones themselves, Steven Spielberg wanted to do a James Bond-esque type hero or action hero, and he came up with the idea of Indiana Jones. I'm vaguely trying to remember this. I'll have to look this up at another date, but I think that's the story. But that's besides the point. And Indiana Jones has had his fair share with fighting Nazis, aliens, ghostly type things. And now you're going, and this new one looks like he's going after an artifact. And I've heard the reviews by the time this movie's come out now. And overall, it's one of those better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Certain parts lag the CGI because if you've seen the trailer, they make Harrison Ford look younger or young Indiana Jones for that matter. And it's in the sense of, I don't know, just the music done by John Williams, which he's done a lot of my favorite. He's done composed music for a lot of my favorite films, but just the sense and awe and what Indiana Jones has to go through. I've just been intrigued since I could ever remember of being appreciative for films. And it's definitely one of those that has intrigued me. So as I proceed here to now the list of action heroes or action movie characters, I'm not going to go into specifics of particular actors, but the characters they've portrayed. And is some that come to mind is let's go to the list. I'm gonna I'm gonna remove myself for a second so you can see it. We have characters like John McClane, Ellen Ripley, the bride from Kill Bill, James Bond. No particular James Bond, but if you all have a favorite James Bond, let me know in the comments. I first grew up with James Bond, the Nintendo 64, and that was with Pierce Brosnan. Then you had Daniel Craig, who started off good, had a mishap on the second one, then the third one was good, and then his last one was um so, and I need to rewatch it again. As I referenced Han Solo, Indiana Jones, John Rambo, Dirty Harry, John Wick, Neo, and Jason Bourne. And just overall, all these characters and the Terminator, I believe. I'm going to come back. I'm back. And the Terminator. And that's why I'm saying movie characters, because in the first Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger plays the killer robot. And the second one, he plays a robot, but has to come back and save John Connor. So I'm going to bring ourselves out of here, and bear with me for just a second. I should have had this set up. I'm going to go through a list here of specific action movie heroes. You could call them heroes or characters, and I believe the Terminator is on this list. But overall, there's just so many different things and moments where I'm just thrilled. I always say this when I do movie reviews on Instagram, that I end up just having the thrill of being on a roller coaster, because you get the intro to a story, then you're being driven up and down like a roller coaster from beginning to end, because all these different movies, as like when I first saw Kill Bill, it was definitely a roller coaster of a ride. What Uma Thurman does as a action character slash hero, assassin seeking revenge, definitely something worth the watch and the experience you get. Jason Bourne, I would call an Americanized version of James Bond, because it's a character who was trained to become an assassin, loses his memory, and people that help become who he was now want to kill him. And it ends up being in the sense of he's just trying to stop them, or I believe they did 4 films. Yes, 4 films, and then a spinoff with Jeremy Renner. And that one is just the way the camera work, the action, the fighting, all of the scenes within itself. Then you have Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road, who just decided they had her shave her head, and she wears a mechanical arm. Behind the scenes, it's just a green sleeve, but she is a badass in this one. I don't remember Liam. I see the image I'm sharing with you all here. Liam Neeson's character, which I believe is in Taken, where he is a trained assassin, and as he tells the man his particular set of skills, and then the man has the cojones and the nuts to say good luck, and he goes on a revenge killing rampage to save his daughter. Then you have Rambo. Then you have Mr. Tom Cruise playing Ethan Hunt, which in about 3 weeks' time, you will see Ethan Hunt in his eighth outing in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Part 2 is coming out next year. And then John Wick, which I gave a review back in March to John Wick Chapter 4. And overall, this is an original idea. I would say it's probably not, but just starts off with a former assassin, and I'm going to give some spoilers here, dealing with the loss of his wife, and he gets brought back in by some Russian type people, and he just goes through a assassin rampage of different people. He, instead of not just using guns, he uses books, pencils, and if you've seen the movie John Wick Chapter 4, stairs, guns that I didn't even know existed. And it's just one of those that the thrill and the action sense of it being definitely one of those that has captured the audience's attention. And then going back, I believe he was on the first one, John McClane. I want to, before I continue, want to pose the question to you all. What do you think the very first, I believe they did 5 diehards? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was about 5 diehards. But other than that, do you see the first Die Hard as a Christmas movie? And I want to pose this question because I've seen this on the web, or I've seen this in videos. I'm going to look up when Die Hard was released. I believe it was a summer movie, but it was set during the time of Christmas. And yes, I remember. Yeah, it was set. It was released in the summer of July 15th, 1988, and then it ended up becoming set in a Christmas movie. And the conversation back and forth for people on the webs saying it's kind of like Home Alone. Is Home Alone a Christmas movie? It happens on Christmas, and like Home Alone 2 as well. But this one, it has Christmas music. You have um the late, oh my god, Alan Rickman. Let me, I don't want to get that wrong. Yes, the late Alan Rickman saying "ho ho ho," and just little things like that. But that's besides the point. I'm posing the question right here, and then I'll move on. Do you think the first Die Hard is a Christmas movie? So, as you've probably seen before, gonna go through a list, and this is a ranking. Um, and like I said, don't at this website or anything. We're gonna just go off of this list here, off of Collider, and they rank the top or the best action movie heroes. I'm titling this episode characters, but you could also say heroes because they're the ones or the main people. And give me a second. And here we go. I'm going to minimize myself here. And best action movie heroes of all time, according to Letterbox. And of all things, it ends up being that I've heard Letterbox is kind of like a review type thing. And right now, before I proceed, I'm going to just go off the top of my head. I'm going to go in rankings. I'm going to give John McClane at number 1, Ellen Ripley at number 2, and then The Terminator at number 3. And as we proceed here, it looks like they start at number 10. At number 10, they give love to The Bride from Kill Bill Volume 1, which was released in 2003. Uma Thurman is a very well she is a very good actress. Um, she does a lot of good movies, and I would say this is one of her well-known, not well-known, but a movie that is a revenge martial arts style film that becomes that revenge type story and done by Mr. Quentin Tarantino. And when he shows violence, he shows the violence. And obviously, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So at number 9, Stuntman Mike, Dead Proof, played by Mr. Kurt Russell. And like I said, if you've seen my episodes, I'm going to go into detail on the movies I have seen. There's characters I know of, but I'm not familiar with the certain films. Ellen Ripley, the Aliens franchise. I think she says it in the second one. It's been a while. I need to rewatch it. But as Sigourney Weaver, being directed by Mr. James Cameron, who, in just a little quick thing, if you realize he only has silly ads. He only has at least about no more than 6 films, and that's not including the recent Avatar films. But James Cameron and this sci-fi action franchise, making Sigourney Weaver just being a really badass person and telling the alien to get away from her, UMFer. So, yep, that's number 8. And at number 7, we have Ethan Hunt, Mission Impossible Fallout. These movies, the first movie started off well, the second one, subpar. Then after part 3 and 4, it started getting interesting and, yes, a little bit over the top. But be that as it may, I was watching a video the other day. Some people are not fans of Tom Cruise. Like I said, I'm not going into the actors personally, but the way they do the stunts in like the past 5 films, it ends up being just one of those that is just it's interesting, the storytelling. And for someone like Tom Cruise, who is at the age of 60 still doing this stuff, and if you've seen the recent trailer to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, he's running like if he's a track star, and I hope to run like that when I'm his age, to say the least. But definitely, I would give Tom Ethan Hunt at this number. At number 6, I jokingly, like, it's fun and it's cool to see they give love to these two together, Inspector Lee and Detective James Carter, the very first Rush Hour. These movies are really enjoyable to watch. I'd rank it basically part 1, 2, and 3. 3 at the bottom. And this one's one of those that, if you know Jackie Chan, he definitely does his own stunts. And just the way, if you've seen the ending credits, the bloopers, and he's one of those kind of like Tom Cruise who will do for what he loves, which is acting and definitely stunt work. And Chris Tucker, definitely is funny in this movie and has his moment to shine as well. And I would say it's a comedy. They're giving love to this as a comedy action duo. So definitely would I give a thumbs up to this. And then at number 5, John Rambo First Blood 1982. This was done by Mr. Sylvester Stallone as the main protagonist. And this is another one of those revenge type movies. And a man that you don't want to mess with, who will, like the bride, will kick your ass. And as we proceed down, this one is another one. Even though I know I do a movie podcast, yes, we have some of us have not seen every single movie, but this is definitely one that I'm gonna have to just flip a coin or ask a magic 8 ball, because they've done like different versions. Blade Runner, Richard Deckard, played by Mr. Harrison Ford. I would maybe, if obviously if I hadn't seen this, I'd give love to Indiana Jones and not this one, but I might be wrong. You let me know. Is Blade Runner worth watching? And then they did Blade Runner 2049, which also starred Ryan Gosling. And then number 3, Neo, The Matrix. And looking back at that movie, which was, as it says there, 1999, it's definitely one that ends up becoming something to enjoy. And just the technology and the way it was done back then. This is like a sci-fi action type film of the Wachowskis, and definitely one of those that obviously the sequel and the third one fortunately didn't live up to the par. The second one kind of did, and then the third one just ended up fortunately going down from there. Then I think I'd give John McClane the love. Definitely because of Bruce Willis. If you all don't know, he unfortunately has retired from acting due to health reasons. And I might be wrong, but this is definitely up there synonymous. But sorry, I just randomly thought of that. Um, but definitely he has a lot of classic lines in this movie. The action is great. And leaving that question once again, do you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? And do you watch it during Christmas or the holidays? And at number 1, they give love to the Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I would say yes, because not at number 1. The characters I listed on the list of movies that I gave was pretty much one of those that ended up becoming. He does a lot of cool stuff. It's more or less gunfighting. I don't know. I would consider movie action characters to do a little bit of everything. And a lot of these do, where they do like the hand to hand combat, like Neo in The Matrix, because I believe he learned martial arts. Even John Wick as well, because it's a lot of shooting, but also hand to hand combat fighting. That's where I'm putting the list of characters. And looking back on, I was gonna show another list, but it would definitely be Eddie Murphy's character from Axel Foley from Beverly Hills Cop, as that list referenced action characters. So yeah, it's one of those where a lot of it becomes memorable moments in each of these movies that you tend to revisit, or it's one of those where it's just excites you and you just want to see it again and again. Especially, for example, in The Matrix, where they're about to spoiler here for a almost 30 plus or 20 plus year old film, The Matrix, where they shoot at him and he puts his hand out and stops the bullets. And the very first moment where they shoot at him and he goes like this in slow motion, and just the way the technology is done like that. But it's definitely one of those that just seems very interesting, um of movies that I've come to appreciate. And I don't know, I I love action movies. And because of, yes, the certain ones are, you get your cheesy action movies and the characters, they don't have really their moment to shine depending on the story that it is. Um, I can't think of one off the top of my head of like cheesy action. You could say recently Netflix has done certain action movies lately, and I won't name off names, but when I hear the reviews of those movies, the um the movie reviewers that I follow, they call some of these movies, like if these were done in the 90s, this would definitely be your cheesy type action movie and nothing that could end up being in the movie theater. But that's neither here nor there. Like I say, I never want to say a movie's like sucks or terrible. I enjoy each of these movies in different ways. And like I referenced in my very first episode, why do we watch movies? Because we can relate to them. We relate to the characters, not obviously by the hand to hand combat and gun shooting, but just for things that they experience. Whether that's something inside them, outside of them, the people around them, their family. We've all had our ups and downs in life, and we experience that. And that's why we kind of see ourselves relatable when we watch movies, and especially when it comes to other movie characters. And later on, I hope to put out other episodes of different genre type characters that have been around in movies. And it's one of those that, or maybe you completely disagree with me and I am not making any sense, and you just watch a movie for 2 hours and you're like, I love Bruce Willis in Die Hard. And yes, you're right. It is a Christmas movie. Or you're nuts. It's not a Christmas movie. I just want to see if I get responses on that. But in the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing Indiana Jones, as I stated in the beginning of this, and see where it takes me and see where the story ends for him. And it's definitely one of those that um I'm excited to see, and hopefully the director of this movie, James Mangold, has done pretty decent, really good films, and it ends up making it to where um he treats his characters very well. One in particular that I saw the other day on TV was Ford v Ferrari, and the way he has his characters done. And let's just wait and see. But in the meantime, you all let me know what are your favorite action movies, and then specifically, as this episode, your favorite action movie characters. Why do you like them? What is your least favorite? What is something I didn't mention or bring up? Do you agree on that list that I showed you there? And you all let me know. Like I said, um, everything is subjective. Don't have to agree on what I say here. I just love enjoying talking about films in general. And as you see thus far in the episodes I've brought you all, it gives you different topics and different moments and settings of different things, because the filmography from the 1,000 movie studios and the 1,000 films and the categories of what it makes to do all these films. A part of these is creating all of these action movie characters. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and check out a list of or the playlist of previous episodes of the AMS podcast. In the meantime, this is the AMS podcast. I am Adrian Michael Soto. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye for now.